this locker room. You son of a bitches, you don't deserve a locker room. You don't deserve a locker room the way you're playing this year. You should be playing without uniforms. You should be playing jock straps. Every time we get ready to play, I just want to throw up. I'm goddamn sick of watching you guys play. There's not one of you that's learned how to win. We got hammered the last 4 games. And it stops right now.
Well,
wow.
Welcome to All the Right Movies, everyone. And if you didn't figure it out yet, we are doing Blue Chips tonight. That was Pete Bell's that was Pete Bell's inspirational speech before the first game in the movie. This is how he's getting ready to send them out. I didn't play the whole thing. That's just his opening rant. He storms out and comes back twice more. He smashes the water jug. He just goes bonkers. I think he says like one, all right, let's go out here and win. And you've met him. And if you didn't pick up on it either, he worked a little, Nick Nolte worked a little with Bobby Knight. So anyway, let's get right into it. Joining me tonight, some of you might recognize Mr. John Johnston, the Grand Poobah next to me here. Thank you, John, very much for assisting.
Oh, I have to let my hair down. You know, that opening bit really set the tone for the movie. I'm sorry. I'm right before this, I'm trying to repair a big database system. So I'm going to get texts coming in that are going to distract me, but it set the tone for the movie. And you're right. It did really, he was Bobby Knight and Nick Nolte. One of the things about Nick Nolte is he has that, that voice just, you sons of bitches don't deserve a locker room,
He's got the gravel. He's got that.
Yes, he's extremely good at that. And he probably rants as good as anybody in a movie.
Well, I always enjoyed Ed Orgeron because he brought like the assistant coach in The Waterboy, which we did a few weeks ago. He brought that Cajun like garble along with the gravel voice to just put it all together. He's probably my favorite just ranting coach of all time in real life, and maybe even better than Pete Bell here. Tell you what, before we get into the movie a little, I just want to, looks like we already have some comments flying in. Let's see who's with us tonight. Well, Highlander Gunn and Justin Rogie were jumping in last night when I loaded up when I scheduled it. I'd say somebody's already Corn Nation in with you guys or Poopy Butts. John, would that be you?
Maybe.
Maybe. Let's see. We got Bonewood, Corn-Fed, undefeated in the offseason again so far. It's been a great offseason, and we do that better than anybody. Let's see. Yeah, that you talking trash tonight, John. You got sniffed out, I think, before you spoke up. Baby. Let's see. The topic is money ruining college athletics. Kind of wondered if the old cranky bastard might show up. Guys, it wasn't by accident that I thought this was the movie to invite him to. John's speech. And yeah, that's it. Jason Reeves, he's chewing their ass before the game and going like, you'd make me want to throw up. I think that was my favorite. Like his team makes him want to barf. Yeah, Nolte has the best. God damn it. He really, really does. All right. So got some of the regulars in here. Let's talk just a little bit about Blue Chips first here before we start getting into the details. I'm stumbling into some anniversaries on some of the movies I'm picking just completely by accident. I pick it, I start going in to do a little research, and I look at the release date, and I've got like a 40-year anniversary or a 30-year anniversary. Yeah, this one came out in February of 1994. It was directed by William Friedkin, a very well-known director, but not for sports movies. He's probably the ones I wrote down best known, or ones I liked anyway, the best. The French Connection in 1971 with Gene Hackman. The Exorcist, 73. An underrated movie with Roy Scheider called Sorcerer in 1977. I watched that for the first time about a year ago, and I just loved it. Cruising with Al Pacino in 1980. To Live and Die in L.A. in 1985 with William Peterson. And I would say To Live and Die in L.A. and French Connection on both coasts have the best car chase scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. And then he did.
Wait.
Go ahead,
Is Sorcerer the one where they have to drive a truck
You
Full
got
of
it.
explosives or something.
Through the jungle.
Yeah.
And over like rickety wooden bridges, and it's and it's just
Okay.
raining all the time. Yeah, and then the last one, really good one he was known for was, I believe it was with Samuel L. Jackson and then Tommy Lee Jones, maybe, Rules of Engagement in 2000. That's not a lot of times I get these directors here and I'm like, hey, here's a Mount Rushmore of 4 great sports movies they did. I don't know if this guy ever touched sports movies, although I did see that in 1965 he did something like the violence of the NFL or something like that, which was ahead of its time because everybody just thought it was a bunch of guys playing around in the 60s. Let's see. I always like to say, did the movies get nominated for any awards? Critics, I think this one's done a lot better over time than it did when it came out, because I didn't like it when it came out. I'm like, where's my big game? Where's my I thought it was going to be like an amazing college basketball movie with the games meaning a lot, and I didn't know he was going for something a lot more than that. So the only award is Shaquille O'Neal was nominated for a Razzie for worst supporting actor.
Really?
Yeah, I thought
he was very good.
He's
freaking Shaquille O'Neal, for God's sakes. He's not an actor.
And that's like one of the first times where you start to get to see some of that Shaquille O'Neal personality.
Yes.
That didn't really let out early in his career and in college because he didn't really trust anybody, and for good reason. He just got crapped on. But when he sees those kids, like we'll get to the scene like in the kindergarten, all he wants to do is play with the kids.
Right.
You see that face light up and you see that smile a lot. And we're getting in early on just how much fun Shaquille O'Neal came to be. The box office, 1994 was kind of an amazing movie year. If we get time, I might just roll down like the top box office. You're getting into the 30s and 40s and going, boy, I really love that movie. This one rolled in 23 million. And no, that can't really be adjusted to be much better in 2024 when you figure that the budget was 35 million. It was a true bomb at the box office. It didn't get much better. Roger Ebert liked it. Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars. And he had a really good quote that he caught on to what it was about right away, because that's what Roger Ebert does. But he said something like, coaching is a catch-22. If you lose, you get fired. To win, you need really great players. And to get really great players, you may have to offer them illegal money, illegal stuff. And if you get caught, you get fired. It's a vicious circle. And I think that's one of the reasons we had so many coaches willing to play themselves in this movie when they knew what this movie was about. It's like, yeah, sometimes coaching fucking sucks, especially this part of it where we got to pay these kids if we want them, but we can't get caught having anything to do with it. But if we decide to run clean, sooner or later, we're going to be Pete Bell. I think Bobby Knight might have been the only one to get away with it for as long as he did, like really not with his players not getting paid, or at least completely without his knowledge. Rotten Tomatoes, that Roger Ebert was in the minority. Rotten Tomatoes, 38% with the critics.
Really?
Yeah. The critics didn't like it. And I'm thinking most of them were going there looking for a good ball game. I kind of get it. The audience, 51%. I was like this, and then I watched it again, and I'm like, wait, I think I was missing the main point. And then I started really appreciating the performances, the story, and all of that. So let's see. Let's talk about the plot. What I like to do, and I get someone like John on as a guest, is you've watched the movie now. All right, you're in the studio producer's office. You've got to come up with a 2 to 3 sentence pitch.
Oh my God!
To sell this movie. Go.
Nick Nolte screams at young kids and with a lot of gravelly voice stuff, and tries to pretend that he is the only coach, the last innocent Boy Scout coach left in America, as evil swirls around him. It shows the horrors of the AAU and what really is eating up college sports. I'd do a better, you know what? I'd ask AI. Now I'd ask AI, how can I pitch this movie? I'd describe it to it. Give me 25 words or less. That's what I do.
And I just went like, hey, I got Nick Nolte signed. He's a legendary coach who's never cheated. He yells a lot like Bobby Knight. He has his first losing season, and so he gets really all up in his head and then decides to have the boosters pay the kids. And even though he's rolling around there with a big contract and a paid car and a TV show and a sneaker deal, it really offends him that he's let the players get paid, so he quits, and then basically causes a lot of people to lose their jobs.
Well, I think are we talking about the plot?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the plot in 2 or 3 sentences.
Well, I think it's you look at it and you go, okay, they're gonna come up and they're gonna play Indiana's Bobby Knight and Indiana's #1, and it's kind of this juxtaposition of Bobby Knight is the one that threw the chair, and earlier Nick Nolte kicks the basketball and gets ejected from the big game, but you go, okay, is this late in the season? Have they played like 20 games and this is like some final thing?
The first
it's like the first game of the season, isn't it?
The first 2 games are the last 2 games of the previous season, and then the Indiana game literally is the first game of the season, and then Indiana's the preseason #1.
So he literally just can't make it through cheating. He's such a good person, he can't even make it through one game cheating.
Right.
Without feeling so guilty, he has to just give it up.
Well, let's talk about this real quick, because it's like, God, what a noble thing. He's gotten away, and then I think in the end titles, now he is still fighting the refs, coaching a small high school basketball team.
Right.
Thing is, honestly, I look at, like, just for example, Tubby Smith, like being at High Point, North Carolina, in 2019 and 20. You can go to a small Division I team, I think, even after. But here's what happened: is they don't say what happens is, great, I quit. Well, guess what? Like I said, you just put the school on probation for 3 years that they'll have to eat shit for, even though you're gone. You've probably gotten poor Bob Cousy fired. They're not going to let the athletic directors stick around. Like, all your assistants are going to be pretty tough to hire now. And now they get no tournament money for 3 years. So you've probably SMU'd them a little bit to where that no matter who they get to coach, you've screwed a lot of people over, and you've screwed that school over. And really, that school didn't make you do any of this. I think that's the thing, is most of these guys, if they do have these crises of consciousness, they think for a minute about all the other people that are going to get caught in the fire that they start. And that's why you really never see someone just flat out go, screw it, I did it, I quit, I hate it, it sucks. It's like, because it's too big for just one person to take the fall for it. And that's one thing I really thought about, like, watching it again, like a couple of years ago, was like, holy shit, everybody's getting fired, and that school's just hosed. And that's, thank God they got a good football program.
What is the cost of one man's soul, Andy?
I don't know. Apparently, well, thankfully for the rest of these guys, not a bunch of other people's souls. I mean, what you do is I think you have to get through that season, or fake a heart attack. Urban Meyer can teach you how to fake a heart attack, nerve issues. It can be done, and then just walk away and wish everybody well. And Marcus Johnson, his assistant coach, takes over. And hey, and if Marcus wants to blow the whistle, fine. But at least you got yourself out of it without setting the city on fire.
Speaking of Urban Meyer, I saw a post today that 40 players on the 2008 national champion Florida Gator team have been arrested and been incarcerated. 40 players.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Anyway,
okay.
This is why you never saw any of them really listening to Tim Tebow. You'd see him walking around, like pacing around by himself. There's one time in an SEC title game, he tried to jump in the defensive huddle before their last stand or something, and you just saw one arm come out and shove him out of there. Like, get the fuck out of the way. All right, let me check, because some comments are piling up. Before we start going through the scenes, let's see what else we've got going. I always forget. Look where I left off. I got to highlight one and just lead it. All right, what do we see here? Nolte kicked off the Benson football team for hiding and drinking beer during practice. Well, the way life's played out for Nick, I have no doubt about any of that. Now, there used to be in the Pepper Jacks at 72nd and Military. It might still be there. They just had a lot of old Omaha pictures on the wall. One of them is Nolte on the Benson basketball team, proudly sporting the number 69.
Really?
Absolutely. 100%. And I just get the feeling like, back when Nick Nolte was in high school, they took black and white photos of the teams. They probably didn't get the joke. So
it actually says this in Wikipedia. He also attended Benson High School, but was expelled for hiding beer before practice
There you
and
go.
being caught drinking it during a practice session.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can see why he gravitated toward acting. Let's see. We're got some football talk. Bad. More football talk. I'll let you guys deal with the football talk there. I don't want to. I try not to make this run for 2 hours. Although, what do we got here? Okay, somebody put in some time, so let's put this up here. 2024 football odds to win the Big Ten Conference Championship and national title. The Huskers are plus 6,000 to take home the Big Ten title. All right, might throw $100 that way if I was a gambling sick person, which I got a few friends who are. According to sportsbooks, which ranks them 7th in the conference. Additionally, they are plus 30,000 to bring odds to bring home a national championship. Well, hey, the one guy played NCAA this season, 25 times on NCAA 25, and we made the tournament in 3 of them, so made the playoff in 3 of them. So we'll see. Let's see. John says he's trying to get in shape for the season.
Yeah.
Coach Bell equals Don Quixote. Think about it. Well, yeah, I think he took some like illegal. I think they ripped off the townsfolk first and gave him the cash. Then he felt bad about it and became Don Quixote again. Okay, well, let's see. Let's get rolling. John, you just watched this.
Yes.
Give me a couple or 3 of your favorite scenes, and I'll see if they match up with any of the ones I got written down.
Well, I think my favorite part is when he starts recruiting, and I think the first place he walks into, and they say their the prayer over dinner or whatever meal, and I think he says, they're obviously Catholic, and he says I was raised Catholic, and then the next guy is the guy on the farm, and that guy says something about being Baptist.
But
and Nick Nolte's character says, I'm Baptist, and the guy says, which Baptist are you? And because
Southern
God knows there's apparently like 73 different kinds of Baptists, and the Southern Baptists are the ones that stands out. Of course, he says something other than the Southern Baptists, and the guy goes, the dad goes, we don't like Southern Baptists around here. And then he goes to recruit Shaquille O'Neal in Louisiana, and he steps in, and Shaquille takes him to his church, and he stands in the doorway, and he goes, what is this church? And Shaquille goes, Assembly of God. And he goes, and Nick Nolte goes, I'm Pentecostal. Yep. He stands, he jumps in the church and starts clapping along with everybody else in the church. And it's
like that Blues Brothers scene.
Yeah, it was the kind of stuff you had to do if you paid attention to people that were recruiting, Barry Switzer would go and find out what kind of beer the dad drank, and he'd always carry that kind of beer with him, whether it was Coors Light or Pearl. Pearl was a beer that was common, where you had to, I don't think anybody's ever heard of Pearl beer, but, you had to set yourself up to fit into the family environment. I thought that was probably my favorite part.
Oh,
and then Shaquille O'Neal, the other one is, what's his first time he says, Nick Nolte says something about him taking the SAT, and he goes, that test is culturally biased.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Nick Nolte says to his divorced wife, when she says, what did he get on the SAT? And he goes, a 520. And she goes, oh, my God, that test is culturally biased. And then toward the end of the movie, he's in the class of English literature, and he asks a question. The professor is like, you can't ask a question. I'm doing a lecture. And he goes, I'm speaking. Yeah. This class is culturally biased. Why don't we have African literature? And, this is an English literature course. You read the description before you signed. I just thought there was some really good humor in there. It was pretty subtle, but it was, it was there. I guess maybe it wasn't even subtle, but it was good. Those were my favorite parts.
But again, you have Shaq too, getting a Razzie nomination, and I thought in all those scenes, he's hilarious. Yeah, the first guy I was going to say was with all the Pentecostals and all that. We recruited this tackle out of Minnesota once. I want to say his name was Landon or Elton. Let's say he was huge. He was like 6'7". All tackles are huge, but I heard the funniest recruiting story about how I got him because he was just. He gave us a visit, but he was just a lot for Minnesota. and apparently he was like really religious kid. So yeah, they Ron Brown go, and then they brought him on a recruiting visit to Lincoln, along with another recruit, and apparently they took this guy to the. And he ended up starting for us for a couple of years, I think, but they ended up taking him to a strip club and like taking him drinking and all this stuff. And he was, or no, Minnesota did this. I'm sorry. On his official visit to Minnesota, I take it back because we won this part of it. They took whoever the players were, took him to the strip clubs, took him drinking. He was just like mortified and all this, and then ends up like screw Minnesota and flips to Nebraska. But what I read about that, the funniest comment I saw below that was, I want to hear about the kid with the green mohawk they had up there that was in church all night. Who was ready for a good time. He goes, that kid didn't go there either. Because he goes, you just know they got their folders flipped or something.
Oh, there you go.
But no, I actually called as one of the scenes just all the recruiting stops. And it was like, and I love the part where he stops off to watch Butch, and Lou Gossett Jr. is the principal.
Right.
And then you saw the little group of the 5 coaches following around, like Jim Boeheim, Jerry Tarkanian, Lou Campanelli, and there are a couple others that I just didn't recognize. But anyway, those 5 are just getting screwed over at every stop by Pete because he has so many pals. Well, I just loved Lou Gossett coming out, and he said something like, "What am I bid, gentlemen? What am I bid? I mean, he's a potential All-American and can actually read and write, gentlemen.
Yes.
Read and write. And his name, and he's not in any trouble. His name's not Abdul Rahman X or anything like that. It's Butch." And Lou Gossett said, I mean, I just love him. He's in one seat. He just tears it up, and he looks at everybody and then just goes like, "Hey, Pete, come on in." You see all the other coaches. Shit.
I mean, they did have a number of, highfalutin people in this.
I kind of put in the post on the website just the entire cast. Then I'm like, well, you get the picture. And I probably left all the players out of it. It's amazing who Friedkin got in this movie. Well, because then he goes to Ricky, and like you said, there's the whole Baptist thing, and then later on, Dad's gonna want a tractor. But the best part at the beginning, he drives up to Larry Bird's house.
Right.
And he gets like, "I don't know, son, white farm boy, I don't think you're going to make it." And Larry just comes up, "Can't run, can't jump." and he's sitting there, "So what do you, nice of you to visit. What's going on?" "Oh, I was just dropping by." And Larry played Larry pretty well. He's like, "Yeah, you and every other coach in the country, and spit it out if you want." And he's like, "Was it Ricky Rowe?" "Yeah, I know him." And yeah, let's go see him now. And at first he's like, I did all these clinics. I did your clinic for free all those years, and I gave you them stock tips. And he's calling all
right.
Larry Bird, which was just amazing. Let's see. The first scene we heard it. You got I just kind of made it first scene in the game. You got the locker room blow up. They're letting you know right out of the gate it's Bobby Knight. The other team, here's the other team, coached by Rick Pitino. You've got Sam Crawford from New Mexico State, Chris Mills, who got kicked out of Kentucky for taking money and then went to Arizona. I thought it was kind of nice they got Chris Mills in there. You had Rex Walters, the Wonder Dog from Kansas, and then George Lynch from North Carolina. I'm like, that's a pretty solid team you got. They pull away late, beat him, and then he does this other Bobby Knight in the post-game press conference. He's going, "All right, so anyway," he does a little thing. "So anyway, I'll take some questions, even if they're stupid. Go ahead." Because Bobby Knight just used to answer questions and going, "That's stupid. I'm not going to answer it."
Right.
One time he actually showed up for the presser and started giving him grades. Started like, "Okay, that was a solid question about offense. I'm going to give that a B+. No, that's a D-, Fred. You can do better than that." But then the second one's quick, but it was so good. It's when Nick Nolte's sitting there talking about how the hell is he supposed to do this anymore, while Bob Cousy, the athletic director, shoots free throws. And the one thing Nolte I remember saying, he's like, "Well, I'm just afraid that if I do this and I get caught, I'll get kicked out of coaching." And he goes, "Well, what's the second thing?" He goes, "I won't get caught."
Right.
So there's and the whole time Cousy's just shooting free throws, and I guess Nolte's lines were all just ad lib because he couldn't believe the guy wouldn't miss. And he's just like, "Jesus, miss one goddamn time." Well, yeah. And then he hits again, and then he just for good measure dunked or like dropped a left-hander. up there at the end. And they said that actually happened. Kuzi sat there the whole time Nolte was talking in one take and didn't miss a shot. Unbelievable. Then you have the second game, and this is the last game of the season. And I just love looking up these teams. So this team's coached by George Raveling. He's got Adonis Jordan, from also Kansas, Allen Houston, All-American at Tennessee, Thomas Hill from the Leitner Duke teams, Rodney Rogers, All-American Wake Forest, Matt Painter, who is a really good player for Purdue. Jesus Christ, these teams they're playing. It's like that's in your conference. It's I mean those would be the number 2 and 3 teams in the country if you rolled them out there. I was starting to feel bad. Cheat, Pete. My God, these guys aren't getting these guys for free, or these teams aren't getting these guys for free. We had the recruiting stops, and then we had the visit, which had a couple funny things where he's trying to make them all happy. And Ricky Rowe, the one thing he when he recruits him, Ricky's going, well, I like girls,
right?
I like girls. And we got beautiful women. So Pete, you don't want to pay the players, but you're not afraid to try and pimp the women out to them. And then it's so he's trying to get chicks for Ricky, but then he found what Shaq liked, playing with little kids. And then he actually did the old Jim Valvano trick where they walk into the gym with the scoreboard
right
there, and that was an old Valvano trick. I remember Chris Corciani and Rodney Monroe telling the story about how they walked in Reynolds Arena. And here came in, and here was a 3, 2, 1, Corciani, Monroe, it's good, and they're just that's pretty cool. And I think everybody does it, some form of that now. The next one, and we're saving this one a little for later, but this is when he meets Happy at the bar, and they get into it outside. And then the final scene, let's see, and also after that you have the point shaving thing, and that happened after when Happy let him know, I own you. I got one of your players.
Right.
That was a really cool scene when they went back and watched that game, and that was shot really well. That's the kind of thing, if you're not looking for it, hey, it's a bad game, but the way they set it up with the score and everything and how he's looking at the clock. What'd you think of that? I was really impressed just by that whole
you mean where they figured out that who was it? Tony was shaving points?
Yeah. And he as a freshman or whatever.
Honestly, I don't know basketball well enough to actually this stuff really well. My God, the references for the players and everything. Basketball, I just kind of watch it. I was trying to go, okay, what's going on here? I hate to admit that, but my knowledge of basketball isn't that great for that part. But I thought, when the realization comes to Nolte, I thought, that part was, again, very well acted, very well done.
And you had Mark. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You could see their souls drain away.
Yeah, and Marcus Johnson, another former, he played at UCLA, all NBA, I think, for the Bucks a few times, and also wonderful. And White Men Can't Jump is the guy who's just gonna go back to my car, get my other gun, shoot everybody. I mean, that's 2 great performances that are nothing alike. Kind of scroungy court hustler, and them. Here he is, a very well dressed, well spoken and really nice guy, assistant coach. And yeah, he's the one where he's the one who's dying inside, because the other older coach is going, right there, there he is, giving it up again. And it's and he blows up. He's like, hey, damn it, God damn it, Tony was my player, and and it's just killing him. And
they're kind of trying to they're trying to what do I want to say, justify, or what I mean, rationalize. That's the word.
Yeah.
For a little bit, and then all of a sudden you can see the realization start to come over all of them.
Yeah.
I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, he finally just has to admit it, and then Pete Bell goes running over to Tony's dorm room or whatever, and just that kid breaking down, and just the way he finally admitted to it. He goes, it was just one time, and the look on Pete's face, it's so they're setting him up for a complete meltdown at that game, because I think that's the night before they're playing the number 1 team, and he's already on edge about the cars and everything. And then you have that game, and once again, I didn't even write everybody down this time. I just did what I guess might be the starting 5 or 6 for that Indiana team. Okay, so this time in consecutive games, you've gone up against Rick Pitino, George Raveling, and now Bobby Knight. And Bobby Knight gets Bobby Hurley, running the point with Keith Smart, who had a shot to win the NCAA title one year, Joe Hillman, a shooting guard for Indiana, Jamal Meeks, Eric Anderson, and then All-American Calvert Chaney. And they win that game, but even then, it's like it was very tense, and I loved how they coached it. And I actually saw one thing about Bobby Knight in that game. There's one scene where he's going like, "What? You got to get up and make that call." No, I did. I saw it. He's like, and he all of a sudden he goes, "What? Bullshit! You got to get your fat ass down the court. God damn it!" And just starts laying into this ref. And one of the things I read years ago was that wasn't acting. It's like Bobby Knight, they played 2 games between these teams for real, and Bobby Knight's team won both of them. And Bobby Knight said, "Yeah, that wasn't acting. That son of a bitch does that all the time, and it pisses me off." So you get some great stuff from Bob. One of the ones I liked in the early game too was Rick Pitino, where here's Nolte railing on the ref about missing a call. And then they flipped to Rick Pitino on the other side of the scorer's table at the other bench, going like, "That's a great call, ref."
Right.
He's doing a great, just smart ass, and I could totally see him trying to set the other coach off worse by doing that. But then you finish with that scene where he goes in, kind of freaks them all out with this speech about, we all cheated or whatever, and then heads off. And then the little thing where he heads off out of the locker room to the press conference, and all of a sudden you see like Shaq stick his head out the locker room and goes like, "Hey, how'd you like that? How'd you like that little inside move?" And he's like, "That was great, Neon." And you just see Shaq grin ear to ear. "Thanks, coach."
That's the thing about that. I think Shaquille in that movie, I think Shaquille O'Neal over the years has really developed into somebody that's a pretty funny guy, doesn't take himself so seriously. You can't
Right.
stand him. You know what I mean? And you see that smile on his face a few times in that movie. I saw his last game in college.
Yeah,
His last game, he played for LSU.
we're going to talk about that last game a little down near the end.
Heidi and I went to the last game where Nebraska lost to Xavier when Danny Lee got him to the NCAA. His last game was right before that. And seeing Shaq play basketball in person, you just realized, oh my God, human beings exist that are this enormous.
Right.
And to just actually see him in person was like, good Lord, how could they ever lose anything, And I think LSU lost that game. Yeah, they did. It was the last game. That'd be why in the NCAA tourney.
Yep.
The cars.
The
car that Nick Nolte was driving around.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I looked at that and I went, that's the best car they could have for a coach. I don't know what it was, but I looked at it and I thought, those cars look all so unbelievably old.
They always had like the Lincolns and the Cadillacs and stuff. It doesn't seem like anyone were really driving around the sports cars or anything.
He didn't have I don't know what it was. I don't know what
I can't remember. I just remember it was a big. I always thought of those as just big coach cars. Like I don't know.
Jason Reed says it was a Buick Regal.
Buick Regal. If I don't know if anybody
4-door.
The mayor of Kingstown, but that's what Jeremy Renner just drives around, some big Buick or Lincoln or something like that, because he just lives in it. And I look at what the players drive. I just happened to catch like Carson Beck, Georgia's returning quarterback. They just happened to mention in an article, and it wasn't one about all the racing they're still doing, but they just said, and by the way, he drives a Lamborghini now, and it's like, well, good for Carson Beck, I guess. It's like, just don't. At least you're not out racing and wrecking the damn thing. And then he heads off to his final press conference where Ed O'Neill, and that's another like great actor you have in there. There's Al Bundy in there who's been harassing him the whole time and doesn't have enough on him to truly accuse of anything. All he's got is records of possibly boosters paying for it because this one guy is related to this guy and all that. But you don't have shit on the coach of the program yet. And it reminded me that an article that somebody did for the mothership, SB Nation, a few years ago, it was something about the land of the bag man or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And it just explained how, like, why do coaches not get in trouble? It's like, well, because they have nothing to do with that. They have a friend who they just tell him, well, here's who I'm interested in. And then you forget about it. You make your visits and you get them or you don't. But he said, these aren't the Warren Buffetts of the world. This is not where Phil Knight does his thing. This is where people who make anywhere from like 100,000 to say $1 million a year and don't mind spending a nice chunk of it to go buy some players, feel like they get a little more access with that. And that's simple. It's like, and Pete Bell even does that, even though he goes directly to the booster, which probably wouldn't happen, but that I don't want to know. And it's funny because even at that in '94, I think most of the players and the parents would have known better than to go straight to the coach. Here's the cash we want. But anyway, here he is, just like, airing it out. He's just basically confessing, even though they don't have enough on him. Like JT Walsh, who played Happy, the big booster. He was wonderful, and I loved, like, he's talking about how Neon Budo Shaq didn't even want the car, and he goes, "No, it was a nuclear surfboard," and then he goes, "No," and Nolte keeps going, and you watch JT Walsh's face in this one shot just go from a smile to a what the fuck to a totally pissed, and he realizes, wait, this guy's serious, and then he blows it all up. We already had our talk about how everybody's going to be fired. And one little trivia note I'll just drop now. Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal, and Penny Hardaway, both in the movie and in real life, left school early to go play in the NBA.
Did they?
They did. Yeah, they quit school to go play basketball. Oh,
James Boardman says JT Walsh was good at playing slime ball characters. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I think when you asked me to do this, you said, is he the hero in the movie? And I saw his face and I thought, that guy's not a fucking hero. That guy's never a hero in any movie. He's a perfect, he's so good at being an asshole. If I saw him in person, I'd probably punch him in the face.
You gotta get watching House of the Dragon. We've got a guy on House of the Dragon who apparently is playing a scumbag so well that he's being harassed in public. That's when you know you've nailed the role. JT Walsh. Go ahead.
The other person you haven't mentioned, and he had a really tiny part, was Robert Wool.
Yes, he did. He was kind of
who was
New
Bomb.
He was kind of
New Bomb. New Bomb. Was it New Bomb Turk?
New Bomb Turk. I think that was it.
In Porky's?
No, Hollywood Nights.
Hollywood Nights. My movies are all screwed up. I should go back and start watching some of the older movies because, boy, there's a lot of movies that aren't worth poop these days.
Tell you what.
And honestly, while I'm looking at this, I'm starting to go through a list of Nick Nolte movies, and there's North Dallas 40 in there. I mean, that was a great movie.
Fantastic.
48 Hours, obviously. The Deep.
Yep.
The Thin Red Line. I thought that was an excellent movie.
Yep.
A lot of these I don't remember because when I died, I lost a lot of my memories of movies. But like Who'll Stop the Name, no idea what that is. Teachers, I remember, that was good.
Teachers was good.
Cannery Row.
Yeah, I never saw that.
I think that was a movie about a baseball player who quit being a baseball player because he hit a guy in the head. And maybe it's not.
I don't
remember. Okay, anyway.
But
Hotel Rwanda. He was in Tropic Thunder, for God's sakes.
Oh, hell yeah. Like this faking like he didn't have hands. And then he's also in a movie that will be very high in my top 50. It'll be top 10 easily, and that's Warrior, where he plays the alcoholic dad of two estranged brothers who find themselves fighting in an MMA tournament together. Basically MMA Rocky, and he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for it.
Wow.
I think it might be his best role. It's a very good and underrated movie. Let's hit a few more comments here real quick. Let's see. Oh, we got James Boardman coming in. Are you First Baptist or Southern Baptist? And it's like, and he just figures I got a 50-50. First Baptist. Good. We don't have much use for Southern Baptists around here. Nolte never looked whiter. I don't know. He's pretty pale in Warrior. Let's see. Ron Brown's super best friends assemble. Nolte talking trash to Kuzi about his free throws made the whole movie worthwhile. It really did. That scene's something else because you can see him wanting to break character so bad. You just go like, "Well, you miss a goddamn free throw." Let's see. They had Ed O'Neill, for fuck's sake, and he had one investigative reporter scene, and he says they gave him a Lexus and he didn't even want it. Well, yeah, that's the other thing too, is how would Ed know that? I mean,
He would, because he's an investigative reporter.
the only other guy who knew
Come on, they don't have to tell you. You just accept that he's an investigative reporter.
Well, he's investigative. He's not, he's not clairvoyant. Let's see. Isn't Nolte from Omaha now? Was he actually born and grew up here? Did they move around? I never knew for sure on that. Jason Reeves.
Wikipedia is born Omaha, Nebraska.
Awesome.
Is what they list.
Yep.
Nolte was born in Omaha, Nebraska on February 8th, 1941.
Yep. So, yeah, they were definitely taking those pictures in black and white in the 50s and probably had no idea what the 69 was, but you can bet your ass Nick Nolte knew if he's drinking under the stands during his own practice.
I do. I'll say this about the Ed O'Neill line when he starts the final scene, and he says it with, I have to ask this question because if I don't, I wouldn't be doing my job.
Right.
And I thought that was a very, if you're a reporter in that situation, that is exactly how you should frame that. Because
as opposed to how they just come after him sometimes.
Yeah.
You gotcha. It's like, yeah, you know what? You'll find you probably squeeze a few more answers out of them by acting like you're semi-approachable. And if my thing is, if they've done it, they've got to expect something that if somebody found out, they're going to ask the questions. So why get mad at them? I don't know. Hey, I'm getting kind of spoiled after being at Big Ten football media days. One thing I'll say, and this is 2 years in a row, because I actually asked him a question last year along these lines, and it got used in his response got used in an athletic article. He doesn't worry about anybody coming up and playing gotcha with him because he's so open about everything that he is not worried about somebody getting him. He's not worried about it being caught at anything because he's not afraid to tell you anything he's doing. It's got to be a hell of a lot easier to do that in the NIL.
Yes.
Too. But still, look, well, for example, what was it like the one thing he wouldn't say was right away, or not right away, but at some point somebody hit him with, so, hey, tell us why Evan Cooper's gone. And he goes, you know what? Here's the job. Players are going to leave the school. Coaches are going to leave the school. And, what am I going to do? He's like, what am I going to do? Stop him? But here he goes, here's the thing. It's just part of the game, and it's not my place to tell their story. It's if they want to tell you why, that's their story. I'm going to I'll let them tell it. And what a great, I don't know that I've ever heard that answer. I've heard I'm not telling you, and the people getting their back up, and what a great response. Just that's not for me to say. Go ask him. And if he wants to tell you, he will. I like that. Let's see. The SB Nation series on YouTube is great. I agree. Yeah, Oh, I think you already had that one. Good at playing slime ball characters. Let's go ahead. Since Jason threw this in, I was going to bring this up later. Penny Hardaway ends up going to, it's Orlando, but Penny Hardaway ends up going to Orlando because Shaq was so impressed with him, playing with him and against him in the movie, that he went to the Magic front office and said, get this guy. And that ends up being drafted by Golden State, and Orlando takes Chris Webber, and then they do the Chris Webber for Penny trade with Golden State. And that was I think the 93 draft. And in 94, 95, that was Magic's first season back after playing baseball. They actually go and beat Chicago in the Eastern Conference Finals. That Magic team with with second and third year players, Shaquille and Penny. And that's the last, I think, series that Magic lost with the Bulls. It was that one. And so God,
how do you remember all this shit? I can't remember anything anymore.
These guys were saying that last week. I go, oh, God, you know so much. I'm like, guys, I actually researched this before.
You prepared for a show? What is that sorcery?
I know. No, yeah, it's like it's not ridiculous. Now I kind of remembered that, but I had to look it up to put all the pieces back into place. There you go. How 90s is Robert Wool Arliss. And we were talking about on Bull Durham how 3 scenes as Larry and Bull Durham gave him a career he absolutely did not deserve. I mean, what was Arliss on for 10 years? Let's see. Jim Beaver Ellsworth was the kid's dad. Yeah. Oh God, Ellsworth from one of my favorite shows on HBO. Deadwood. Ellsworth from Deadwood. He was the guy out panning for gold and always seeing the things he shouldn't. If you haven't seen Deadwood and you love a good cursing, then I can't recommend it highly enough. We're still talking about the car. Might have been a Riviera, same difference. All right, let's move along. Got any lines you liked? It's not one of those movies that's written by the guy that wrote West Wing or whatever. So it's not a banger line a minute. They sneak in a few good ones. What stuck with you?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious how clairvoyant it kind of was at one point. When you first meet Happy, the character, and he follows him outside and he's yelling at him when he's getting into his car and he's yelling, you make these kids bring in millions of dollars for their schools. You get a multi-million-dollar contract, and what do they get? Nothing. They deserve it. I think that's very, that's one of the things why you watch the movie now and you go, holy I think the biggest thing that struck me about this movie is this. I think now when you look at it, I think you have to come to the realization that all the politics in football and college sports have swung. We used to hang on to amateurism so tightly, and so many of these rules that now seem so unbelievably stupid.
John,
am I supposed to wait on that?
Yeah. Time out just for a second.
Okay.
We'll get to that shortly because we're definitely going down that road. I'm just looking forward for just best lines. Like I loved it when when they sat down after Ricky Road had his workout and everything, and he goes in and tells them, "Oh, right, come here," and they're just like, "Yeah, that's great." And he goes, "So now I think it's time we talk a little business." And you see Nick Nolte like, "Business?" And it's like, "I'm a white blue chip prospect. I figure that's worth about $30,000 and one of them gym bags over there, and one of those athletic bags. Get the hell out! God damn it!"
He gets so mad at him.
Yeah, it's like you don't think this. It's like so he even admits it goes on everywhere, and he somehow thought this kid magically just would come and play for him for free, and since he didn't, that was one that I just like. I know Pete. Pete's Bobby, and he's got a bit of a hair trigger, but I figure you've been around long enough that your response is not just to like all but get up and kick the kid in the ass, and practically throw him out the door. Because, hey, it goes on everywhere. You've said, hey, I think we're going to take a swing at this already. So why are you acting mad that the kid wants some money? But anyway, but one of my favorite things was like after he was sitting in the shower getting kicked out of that first game, and Bob Cousy's tried to calm him down, or he's pretty calm, but he's going, "No, come on, you'll feel better in the morning." And his response is, "Well, there's no goddamn way in hell I'll feel better in the morning. You know that. I'm just going to wake up and I'm just going to get madder and goddamn madder." Yeah, I've known those mornings. Yeah, here's Pete's Bobby Nightline. "Any questions, stupid or otherwise?" And we did, and then we did like Lou Gossett. So like, and then I'm sorry, but my favorite is after it's like she promised to pay Shaquille $100 if he passed his SAT, and he came in and got like $850 or something, and they're like, yeah, they're shaking his hand. He's like, hold on, somebody owes my ass $100.
Yeah,
and they keep He's like, I don't think you heard me. Somebody owes my ass $100. And of course, the beautiful Bobby Knight line where the ref ran by and said something to him in that game, and he just turns around and does that long bullshit. that Bobby Knight. Come on, god damn it. And anyway, so those were some of my favorite lines. All right, let me pull something up right now. And then we will
here while you're doing that. Look, James Boardman says any love for Mary McDonald. She wore those jeans well. She was lovely.
I fell for her in Dances with Wolves, and then again, it's one I don't think a lot of people saw, but everybody that has really digs it. Sneakers with Robert Redford and her, and Sidney Poitier I think was in there, and shit, and I think who's the kid that died? River Phoenix was in there before he died. David Straighthairn.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, this here, because this one I'd want to start at the right time. Here we go. So bear with me just a moment, and I think we are about there. Okay, this is the happy speech we were talking about, and something else just tried to jump up. Okay, try again. All right.
And a quarterback, all recruited by friends of the program. I don't like football. They're all graduating this year. We're clean. My money is untraceable. It's been washed, scrubbed, laundered within an inch of its life. Got a future in politics, asshole. Why don't you run for office? These athletes generate millions of dollars for the university. What do they get? Nothing. What do you get? You get a multi-year contract. You get a 6-figure shoe deal so your team can be a walking billboard. And that is all legal. And then you get another 6 figures for that lousy TV show. Get out of We owe them that money. We owe it to them.
So everything has changed.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's like, because look today now I really think it's swung, and I'll admit it. I am absolutely on the side of pay the players, and I have been for years. And the way I defended it was this: it's like I'm fine with not paying the players if we get rid of TV, we charge $5 a seat, we make sure the coach teaches a class at the university, so it really still because to me it was always everybody was for amateurism, but only with the guys who are actually doing the thing we all wanted to watch, and never really asked. No, there was never the follow-up question. Well, if they don't play the players, then who keeps all that money? And well, I remember one of my first responses was at one point, I'm like, well, there's a reason there's 4 or 5 coaches in college getting paid far more than most NFL coaches. And that's because you can pay your coach $10 million a year at a college if you don't have to pay the players anything except a free ride to the school. But I know you've got thoughts on this too. So
well, I just did a history video, amateurism, on the origin of amateurism, and it basically starts in Victorian England, and it starts because the aristocrats want to keep the commoners from playing sports, or at least playing this on the same levels that they are, for two reasons. Reasons. Number one, they don't want to mix with them because, oh my God, they're commoners and we're aristocrats. But most importantly, they don't want to lose to them. Right?
Absolutely.
And now the one thing that I looked for personalities to include in that video, and I included Casper Whitney. I'm not going to go into him because it's in the video. If you want to watch the amateur video, it's over on Hardcore College Football History. The person I did not include in the video that I thought about it including was Avery Brundage.
Oh,
and I don't know. I'm probably, most people probably don't know who he was.
I do.
But Avery Brundage was the head of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, from 1952 to 1972. And he was an extremely staunch proponent of amateurism.
Yeah.
I mean, very to the point that, he pissed everybody off. Well, he was kind of a prick too. But the thing about Avery Brundage is this. He competed against Jim Thorpe in the 1912 Olympics. He finished sixth. He finished sixth when Jim Thorpe won the decathlon, the pentathlon, got 2 medals, became world famous, and then later had them taken away because he was charged with professionalism. Now, the full story of that is he should have never been charged with that in the first place because the time to contest the results was way past. That's a whole story in itself. But I always think, did Avery Brundage just resent losing to, an Indian, a lower class guy that,
100%.
So when you look at the origins of what we clung to for so many years, for so strongly, they're really horrible origins.
Just before we get away from Avery Brundage, then you can go again. Because yes, Avery Brundage was a giant piece of shit. That's the best way I can describe him. Starting with the Thorpe thing, for me, it was during that U.S.-Russia basketball game. I believe he brought himself down to the scoring table at one point when they were giving Russia a chance to go over and over again. It was funny. Me and a gal were watching some of the equestrian, where they are out in the country leaping over bushes and planks and whatnot and into the water. And at one point, somebody like, whoa, like slipped in their saddle a little. And I was like, oh, that was close. And she just went, I don't give a shit if some upper crust bitch hits the deck. You know? And because there's a sport that seems to be would still be very much in the class system like that. But yeah, Brundage, it was funny you mentioned him because he brings back like many bad memories and was fairly known as a racist. And then he was a staunchly for
Yeah.
anti-racism. Bullshit. Because basically everybody, even going back to the 70s, that's when pretty much everybody in the world was but us had their athletes
Right.
job that they never had to show up for. Like the entire Russian Olympic team was basically in the army. I know for sure those hockey
Right.
teams, they had to get their pictures taken in uniform a couple times a year when they weren't practicing. But it wasn't just the Eastern Bloc. Like famously, Lassi Viren, who I think won the 5,000 and 10,000 and 72 and 76 in back-to-back Olympics, and he was from Finland. He beat Prefontaine in the famous like 1972 5,000, and he was a Finnish policeman who never walked a beat. So my ass. The U.S. I think is still about the only country in the world, for all the crap we do, we're still about the only country in the world that funds our Olympic team without a tax dollar being spent. It's all corporate sponsorships and
Right.
and so, because that's what made it tough for them was like, okay, they weren't really allowed, if they got, nobody really wanted to give them bullshit jobs, I guess. I don't know what they're, I guess I can't, everybody be training in like Eugene. Well, I can't give, 20 guys in Eugene a job where they don't do anything because I'm that rich. But yeah, go ahead though. That's why I wanted to interrupt. You kind of
I think it's amazing how, just the whole movie, the emotional, how, Nick Nolte is tied to being this, stand-up guy for, something that now we look at that's honestly so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what struck me about the whole thing was he wants to cling to the rules, and that's honorable, and he's certainly an honorable man. But you kind of look at it and go, we've lied to ourselves for so. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stuff on the history stuff, and you go back into the 1920s, and did you know in 1929 that Iowa was thrown out of the Big Ten for a year?
God, how did they do it? Would it work now?
They were thrown out of the Big Ten for a year because they had so many players that were supposedly, getting subsidies and things like that.
Yeah, I mean,
then here's the thing: they were supposedly brought back into the Big Ten the next year because they had so much dirt on other programs that they didn't want that going public, so they brought them back into the Big Ten. So this kind of stuff has been going on forever. Now it's just out in the open. I think people, the NIL thing. People are frustrated with that and all the changes that have happened so quickly in football. But
here's the frustration, though. For me, it's just a bunch of jealous motherfuckers who are mad that they were really good in sports and missed their shot, or I worked so hard at my job. Why do these guys get paid this much? And I'm just old and white and hate everybody. It's just ridiculous. It's like, okay, but I don't hear you bitching about the billionaires or the head coaches that make $10 million a year. But that's always been a thing. That people are just so infuriated because I think they think of sports, even at the college level and possibly the pros, as just something where they run around in a field prancing like happy little kids and don't realize it's like, yeah, these guys actually put an ungodly amount of time and sweat and tears into it. And a lot of them just because they love the sport. And now I'm happy, at least at the Nebraska level, where it's pretty much everybody's getting paid at least like 30 grand. Like, so the walk-ons are on scholarship. And I just love the fact that, okay, these guys, most of them are done playing football. And the thing about playing football is, unless you count flag as resembling tackle football at all, that is one damn sport that when you're done playing it, you are done playing it for good. You're never going to run and pad up again. I don't know, maybe the weird Kurt Russell, Robin Williams movie. And I mean, I think if they tried to pad up 40 and 50-year-olds, the emergency room would be full and that game would be over before the first quarter ended. And here's my thing about amateurism. It's like you said, the payments have been going on for years, but the money's been there for years. And it's not that they want amateurism. They just want amateurism for the players. Well, Dan Jenkins wrote a great story just to destroy a Notre Dame fan where he goes, here's how they got George Gipp. I think he was like 24 years old and just hustling pool. I mean, he wasn't just an unbelievable athlete, but he was up hustling pool and betting on sports, and that was his life. And they basically offered him a shit ton of money to go to Notre Dame. And, well, I don't want to go to school. Well, no, don't worry about classes. You don't have to go to class. And I think Jenkins' line was that what was the movie about him? Everybody's All-American or something like that, or something Newt Rockney All-American maybe.
Right. Yes.
And
yes.
And they have the whole speech they used in the Bad News Bears and breaking training. It's like, and if the boys are down, tell them to win one for the Gipper. And he said, Dan Jenkins goes, the only thing George Gipper would have wanted to know on that hospital bed was, hey, do they know I'm injured yet? Because if not, I want to get $500 on the other team. We get $500 on Lehigh or Army or whoever. But yeah, the amateurism's always just been expected of the athletes. So I'm like, if it's amateur for everybody, God bless. And then you get in trouble for trying to pay them a little more. But otherwise, I still think I'm glad they're getting paid. I still think they're being underpaid probably. And I absolutely love when people say, hey, we got to put a salary cap on that NIL. It's like, you do realize that NIL is completely separate from the school.
Yeah.
And they can pay them whatever the hell they want, so you can't really cap them going out, which the law says now. Sure, like everybody else in America, if somebody wants to pay you a bunch of money for being you, and they actually track that they're doing the work they're supposed to do, or the appearances or the posting. So they actually are very anal about making sure, because Nebraska, I think, had to throw about 3 guys off, or at least off their NIL last year because they just weren't showing up. But yeah. Take all I think we're within a year or two of you're going to get your NIL. There's going to be at least a flat salary coming for you from because they've got the 22 million cap, and good for them, because guess what? Those athletic departments and schools are still going to rake in plenty. And Nick Saban, it was really hard not to laugh at you. I really do respect the guy as a coach, but saying I got to get out of this because I just can't handle the players asking for wanting to know how much money they get. It's like, did your agent not request from Alabama the most you could get, $11 million a year, Nick?
Right.
Come on, buddy. But anyway.
I think the thing about there is a piece of amateurism. I mean, put it this way. I love the University of Nebraska because the University of Nebraska has a special part of my life. I went there. I left my small town. I met people from all over the world. 2 of the guys I studied most of my time with were, one was an Indian, one was a Pakistani, another one was Malaysian. It introduced me to all sorts of stuff. I found out when I was at Nebraska that I had an ego, and that ego could be satisfied by having a crowd and an audience, and I learned a lot about me, and it helped me set up for the IT career and the future that I had for myself. So there's a lot of love that I have for UNL. And when I look at our players, I look at them, and because we project stuff, I look at them and I go, I want them to love that too. I want them to not just be there for a paycheck, and I want them to play for the love of the game. And there is that part of the romanticism that I think is pretty viable for people to be going, okay, am I just doing what Jerry Seinfeld says, just rooting for the uniform because that guy's going to be gone next year? I mean, like, oh, come on. Who was the guy that went to Michigan, the linebacker? Heisman.
Oh, yeah. Thomas House.
Yeah. Screw that guy forever, huh?
Yeah. Well, I heard you. Well, that's the thing, is anybody that transfers here, oh God, you make a good choice there, son. And anybody that leaves. And that was one thing. I don't know if that was like Rule or Trev or a combo of the coaches, but they now have a thing there where, hey, if you think transferring is best, we do nothing but wish you well. They have thing now, like Husker wants Husker forever. Yeah, Ernie House, from Columbus. You're a Husker once, you're a Husker forever, and all we do is wish you well, player, coach, whoever. Yeah. And I agree with that. It's like
that's what you say publicly. Inside, you're like, screw that guy. I hope he gets hangnails forever.
Like Allie Battenhorst, it looks like she's not going to start. She wants to play. She goes to Southern Cal, and apparently that one was so friendly that she played sand for him this summer, or was it like this spring, summer, or whatever, like a few months ago. Played through all that while she'd already, committed to go play indoor at Southern Cal next fall. So I'm like, yeah, that's the way it should be. You don't have to shit on them all. And I also heard rumors that Houseman didn't get treated the best either. So there may be reasons that we don't know. oh, what was I going to say? Because wind up this talk, and I'm glad we had it. I just remember that I'd been really interested in all this after I read 100-Yard Lie by Rick Tielander.
Right.
And in the back, he had a beautiful breakdown about here's how you solve it. And we're coming pretty close to it. It just took like 35, 40 years. But I remember what he did was like, if you decided, do you want to play like the professional level where the schools still sponsor the teams, so you still fill your stadiums, but then you can still have actual college football where they're limiting the practice. The coach is also a professor. There's a way to move back and forth between the two if you want to give up this dream. But the thing I liked the most was if you wanted to play and they were going to, his thing was, and this will never happen, but make the NFL help subsidize it since they're getting a free minor league system right now. And it was neat because he goes, and here's the thing, you don't go to school while you play football. And you can play football for up to 4 years. And each year you play football, you get one free year at the university to redeem at any time you wish. And it's like, there you go, play your 4 years, take your shot, and then go. If it doesn't work out now, come back to school, and you're going to be the coolest dude on campus going there from age 23 to 27, which is kind of the hockey players anyway. But I just love that idea. It's like, you shouldn't have to take a full course load while you're expected to spend 2 hours a day. Bullshit.
Right.
The amount of time you have to spend on football. I mean, I congratulate the ones who actually have girlfriends. I'm guessing they're totally motivated at what they're doing and barely have a social life too.
But they're probably majoring in poli-sci or some degree like that. Come on,
criminology. But anyway, well, I could talk about this all night just because it's such a fascinating topic these days. But we'll move on for it. But John, this was the reason I wanted you on, because I'd love hearing your thoughts on this stuff.
Well, I'm thinking about finding a lawyer to talk about how the house settlement actually works.
I think I remember they were still hammering it out while I was in Indianapolis, because Rule still wasn't sure how the roster was going to work. Because all he knew was it's going to be 105, but he goes, but he's like, and they're all, and basically they can all be on scholarship now. So you can do 100, but that's your roster for the season. But he wasn't sure. Now if somebody gets injured, am I just hosed? Because he wants to do his best to hang on to the walk-ons.
Right.
Can I have 140 guys? But before the season starts, we give you our 105, and maybe the other 35 kind of function like the NFL practice squad or whatever. And then maybe you can pull one of them in if somebody gets hurt for a significant amount of time. But other than that, I think they've gotten the salary cap down. But they were still hammering out how that roster was going to work. I'm pretty sure because he was saying, the devil's in the details and we don't have them all yet, was one of his quotes.
Well, they did file the papers for the settlement Friday, I think it was. It has to be approved by a judge.
Gotcha.
Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of lawyers, if you go on Twitter, there are a lot of lawyers arguing that because they're requiring NIL to be reported, that there's probably going to be lawsuits against that.
Yeah.
But there's another lawyer that I found on Twitter that says, no, this is wrong. This is perfectly, because the judge had previously ruled that the NCAA could still have some power to set regulations on things. So it's a matter of, of course they're lawyers, so they're going to litigate everything forever because that's what they do. But I was thinking I'd get a hold of one of them and see if we could talk through this stuff.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. Well, what the NCAA does anymore in court for the last 20 years is just lose over and over. All right, let's check some comments here. We know you meant Jordan, not Magic. Yes, I think I got Jordan later, but thanks for noticing, James. Loved meeting you. Same producer as White Men Can't Jump. Same production quality. Interesting. Okay, there we go. And we got to that. Any love for Mary McDonald? She wore those jeans well. First Lady Mary McDonald. Oh my God, Independence Day. I forgot.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. If this were reality, Shaq would have been whacked by the NCAA for the $100 comment, and everybody else would have slid. No kidding. If somebody told Ed O'Neill that he got $100 for passing the SAT, it would have been a national scandal. Worse than Jameis Winston and his crab legs. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Nolte's final speech rang as the tilting of windmills to me. The whole Moral of the story did too. Look at the evils money brings to college athletics and how one good man stood against it all. And that was kind of the message. And now that'd be pretty hilarious. Let's see. The pain we were enduring now is the price we pay for the corruption and exploitation that we tolerated. I hope you're not talking about Nebraska. We're just
No, he was talking about all the, I think the thing is you look at the reign of Mark Emmert in the NCAA and how long they just delayed and delayed and delayed doing anything and delayed doing anything when they really could have been working out a structure. You know what I mean?
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
when you do contingency planning for a company, right? I've done a lot of disaster recovery stuff. You have to think of every possibility that might happen to a company to be able to go, okay, if this happens, we do this. And then the goal goes into a plan. And it's like they didn't do what they just took money. They just got paid to say the same stupid shit over and over. When they could have, they could have slowed this down, or they could have come out in degrees and said, okay, we're going to do this and that'll mitigate this problem. But no, I mean, Scott Docterman was on last night and he detailed all of the changes that have happened since 2021, and they're just massive changes in 3 years.
And it is. I've been saying for years now that they could have gotten control of this just with a little bit of compromise, but their egos, their just rigidity, and inability to just think of the players as anybody but the free help. It was just such massive. I guess hubris would be the word. Yeah, we're going to go in and win all these. We're going to win all these so easy. They know these kids don't get paid. And instead, it's like, I think you actually had that's about the only thing the two parties have agreed on is that the NCAA was just working with free labor. It's like, because you couldn't be Republican and say, and suddenly go against the free market. But yeah, they really probably could have made a much better deal for themselves, a way better deal than they lost in court over and over. Hey, here's Tiger Shark Diver that says, I met people at Nebraska from all around the world too. I had an Austrian tennis player roommate and a 7-foot Yugoslavian basketball player next door. Harper was a trip. Harper Schramm. I used to go box down they had like a little boxing gym in the basement of, I believe I can't remember, it was Harper or Schramm, but I didn't see any 7-foot tall Yugoslavians. Although one time, who did I see coming by? I think it was was it Rich King and Van Polgeest came riding by on bikes, like a 7'1" guy and a 6'9", guy that looked like Drago. And it was just like, holy shit, where do you fit them on a 10-speed, man? Houseman should come back with Michigan sanctions. Hey, help rat him out and come back to Nebraska. All's forgiven. There's a rolling. Okay, so Jason Reeves said there's a rolling 120 fall camp roster that can be substituted. Okay, so I was pretty close there. Okay, Tiger Shark Diver. We did the water boy a couple weeks ago. Mama said alligators are so angry because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. Yeah, unwinding the that's a great quote. Unwind by Jason Reeves. Unwinding the student athlete model is like pulling out of a war. It really is. All right, let's get to some of our categories now. Some of them I grade. The first.
We have more.
We have more, just a little more. We're getting near the finish line. I allowed for a lot of amateurism and NIL talk because I wanted to have that talk with this movie. Now, one thing I look for is like, hey, can we reboot the Oscars? Did anybody miss out? Sometimes, they're not really. And it's something like The Waterboy. No statues are really coming that way, but I've talked over and over, and I'll quiz you tonight. These guys know, so don't jump in on these. What are the only 3 sports movies that have won the Best Picture Oscar?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
Rocky.
That's one. That's the first, actually.
The one with come on, Robert De Niro, the boxing movie that was black and white.
Raging Bull did not win.
It didn't.
It did not. I was surprised.
Give me some hints. I don't remember this stuff that well.
Let's see. I'll give you the sports the other two are. And one boxing, no more Rockies, but there's one boxing one and one track and field one.
Oh, Chariots of Fire.
Chariots of Fire. That was the second.
Okay. And the other one is boxing?
Other one is boxing.
And it's not Raging Bull.
I will give you one more hint.
Ali?
No. Not at all. My son's middle name is Ali because I love Muhammad Ali, but
that movie wasn't that good.
That movie was, and that was a good director too. It just wasn't that good.
I don't know.
Clint Eastwood starred.
Oh, $1 Million Baby.
Yeah, and
that was an excellent movie.
I hated it.
Did you really?
I didn't like it.
Why?
I don't know. There's just more than one.
Sentimental for you. It was too sentimental for you, and you're an angry person.
No, that's absolutely not the truth. I usually catch shit for it's like you're a crybaby, and because I love sentimental stuff, but I love all those actors. I love Morgan Freeman and Eastwood's a fan of Eastwood and Hilary Swank, but I just didn't like it. But anyway, I think I've expressed that opinion a few times now. So here, the only one is 1994. I was saying was a fairly amazing year for movies, and it was the same way. This was the year that where's Best Picture here? It was where Forrest Gump won Best Picture, and Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption, Quiz Show, and Four Weddings and a Funeral were the other three. And then there was stuff that didn't get nominated that was amazing. But I looked at the best actors because I thought Nolte was fan-fucking-tastic in this. And actor in a leading role, Tom Hanks won for Gump. Okay, I'm not saying he beats out Hanks. You had Morgan Freeman for Shawshank, Paul Newman for Nobody's Fool, which I'd say I might pull for him a little over Hanks, but no problem with Hanks. Travolta for Pulp Fiction. Somehow Travolta ended up with a Best Actor nod. That was the year that Samuel L. Jackson got fisted out of the Best Supporting, and it was hilarious because he didn't hide it. I think they gave it to like somebody in Ed Wood or something. And when they announced that name, you saw Samuel L. Jackson just like mother, just everybody else goes like smile. And Samuel.
This is 1994.
1994 movies, the 1995 Oscars.
Okay.
And then they threw in Nigel Hawthorne for The Madness of King George. I can't remember the last time we had a lot of Madness of King George talk. So I'm sliding Nolte into his spot. So Nolte gets a 94 nomination. And tell you what, while I'm at it, here's just a little list of starting with number one at the box office, what the movies were that year. I think in gross, Blue Chips finished 52nd. It went like Lion King, Forrest Gump, True Lies, The Santa Claus, The Flintstones, Clear and Present Danger, Speed, The Mask, Mrs. Doubtfire, Interview with the Vampire, Maverick. You find Schindler's List at 12, The Client, Philadelphia, Stargate. Ace Ventura was only 16. I thought that would be just the silly blockbuster comedy of the year. Star Trek Generations, Wolf, Pulp Fiction at 19, Grumpy Old Men at 20. The Specialist, Dumb and Dumber, 22, Naked Gun, 33 and a third. Trying to think, get down to Time Cop, which I thought everybody was going to, was 33rd. I mean, it was a silly Jean-Claude Van Damme, but still, and it just keeps going. Like you're finding what?
Wait a minute. Where's Legends of the Fall?
That was 94. We ain't there yet.
Okay.
Blue Chips was 57, right behind The Piano. Let's see. Are you sure that was a 94? Legends of the Fall?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm looking at the 95 Oscars, and it shows up there.
But anyway, yeah. So hell of a movie. But anyway, okay. Let's go to our next one. Like comedy. Like you said, there's some funny stuff in there. So it's not really a comedy, but there's some good chuckles. So I won't give it the Mike Riley. I'll give that a Frankie. Frankie for comedy. Now, unintentional comedy, on the other hand, I think you got something to say there. I'm sorry, Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway was kind of tough. really good at basketball, but
Yes.
he was kind of struggling there. When he was trying to sell us, he wants to go home homesick. But hey, does my mom get to keep the house if I quit? That's that may not quite be an Osborne, but that's some Devaney. That's some Devaney quality unintentional comedy. Yeah, I don't like it here anymore. I'm going to leave, and I'm probably going to land somewhere else. But my mom keeps the job in the house, right? No, that's pretty funny though that you'd think that. And I tell you what though, I might bump up the comedy to Bo because of the Larry Bird scene. You like my picture just because Bo just had that winning smile and was known for his jovial personality.
Yes.
But that scene with Larry Bird and then riding along with Larry Bird in the French Lick parade while the other coaches were all flipping him off. See, that's at least medium comedy. Next, let's see. Let's go to sports quality. Okay, I'm telling you what, that boom, that is nothing but Osborne. I mean,
wow. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'd say that if you ever got together and said everybody that got an Osborne and the quality of the sports being played, that would be probably in the running with a strong case for number one. I don't know that they've ever. I always thought the best they assembled before that was for Miracle, when they tested like hockey players to get their best 100 like actual hockey players that wanted to try out, and then did screen tests and picked their actors. That was some quality hockey being played there, but it wasn't the hockey. There was nobody in the NHL in there. And here we are with just NHL All-Stars, All-Americans. I went out of the way to find all the guys on those teams because
Right.
I kind of remembered that. That might be just the best ever sports quality. And I think you can also throw in this as just for Nolte as quality of sports coaching, because holy shit, does he pull that off. I was going to do it in Triv. Let me do this one right now. There's a story, a Triv story they did, and William Friedkin talks about how he talked Nick Nolte into taking the role. It's kind of wild. He goes, in a DGA Visual History, I'm guessing Directors Guild interview, William Friedkin spoke about how he convinced a reluctant Nick Nolte to take the lead role in the film. I said to him, here's how I'm going to do this. You're not going to play a coach. You're going to be a coach. I'm going to take you to Indiana where Bobby Knight was coaching, and we're going to go there for 3 weeks, and you're going to be every day at practice of the Indiana basketball team, and you're going to meet the players. You're going to meet Bobby Knight. We're going to have dinner with him every single night. You can ask
Oh my God.
You can ask him anything you want, and then there's going to be some inter-squad games, and you're going to coach one of the games in front of the Indiana kids. And that all took place. He went for that. I mean, this was the kind of preparation that no actor ever gets. I said, in 3 weeks or a month, or maybe it's going to take longer, I'm going to make you a coach. And everything you say on that floor to that team is something that you will have learned what to say in that role, because you're a quick study. And I don't know if you'll ever really be able to coach a basketball team, but you're going to fool a lot of people.
Wow.
That's top quality directing there.
Yeah, I guess.
That's holy shit. I'd be like, I'll do that. You don't even
with Bobby Knight.
With Bobby. And what does that tell you about how much Bobby Knight's feeling what this coach is feeling in the movie? Because Bobby Knight is normally going to go, well, I could do that, or you could go fuck yourself. Will be Bobby Knight's
right.
answer that most of the time. But whatever he sold him on the story is Bobby Knight. I just picture him going, this really needs to be told that, no, we don't enjoy doing this. And it kind of sucks. I just picture him going, yeah, I'm in. I'm all in. Well, would you work with the guy? Yeah, bring him over. He can do practice with me. I want this done right.
Wow.
And yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, what is it? Okay, I said that about. I talked about Nolte being in Pepper Jacks. Let's see. Music. I actually wanted to say a little bit about the music, because they played it's a solid soundtrack. You got Land of a Thousand Dances, a few other things, but they got that one song they're playing kind of off and on throughout. Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go. They play that kind of full three different times by three different singers. They once by, was it Nile Rodgers, and then by a group called Them, I never heard of. But then I think the last one is John Mellencamp. And he has that one where he threw in a line about, here comes the Shack Attack or something. And so I'm gonna give the music. Gonna give that a Devaney too. That solid soundtrack, and baby, please don't go. I mean, they could have gone in a lot of different directions, but it just always felt at home in that movie, and it really felt at home when they were in Algiers, when he was going after Neon. I want to know how they got the Lexus to Algiers when Pete Bell had to take a boat.
Well, that part was kind of silly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been down there, I mean, it's not that,
Yeah.
It's not like you're going into the bayou or something.
Yeah, it's not an island in the swamp. I thought it was funny. It was like he takes like an airboat there or whatever they did, and then they go into town and there's cars. So I'm like,
right. I think he was screwing with. If you wanted the comedy part, that's where he was screwing with him.
Just going with it, yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway, at rewatchability, where would you rate it on rewatchability? Like, and this is where I'm talking about, where we're kind of in a new world where you pick your rewatchables and just throw something up on streaming. You're not running into it on cable or TNT, or when TNT used to show Shawshank like 4 times a week, and really gave it its second coming. But as far as like the question's always, if it just comes on, are you diving in? No,
because you get the big reveal at the end where he can't sell his soul, and I think that I have rewatched very few movies, and I should go back and start watching movies again. Video games has taken over my life. If you want to say, would I replay Road to Glory on EA Sports College Football? Yes, I play that over and over. But movies, I rarely rewatch. I think the only movies I've really rewatched in my life were the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh, wow.
And probably, Dune. Just because I think Dune is probably one of the greatest science fiction books ever written. But
I've been rewatching the 2 Dunes. I'll admit to that. They did the one bad Dune where it rained at the end. Like, it wasn't cast that bad. It was like Kyle MacLachlan. He might have been a little old, but I thought they cast all right. But then it just got weird. And then they actually did a pretty good Dune series on Sci-Fi, where they did Dune as a 6-episode miniseries, and then they did the next 2 Dunes. Like, I always forget what the second was called. The third one was Children of Dune, and then they combined those into a 6-episode. And those were way better than the movie. But no, I love the 2 new ones. Let's before I blow through trivia, let's hit the comments, and let's see. I'm drinking the Husker Kool-Aid now. So drunk on the Kool-Aid. All right, so Tiger Shark, Jason Reeves got the Kool-Aid going. Jason Reeves.
It's hard not to.
The Natural, Rocky, and Chariots of Fire. No, not The Natural. Come on, man. You can't give a movie an Oscar for having the coolest home run ever. But it just had too many slow spots. But yeah, here they went anyway. I said, don't give John the answers, and here come the answers, and well, they got it right. Yeah, $1 Million Baby, blah blah blah. One Night in Miami is okay. Best Ollie actor since Smith. I don't know if I saw One Night in Miami. I know. Oh God. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it now. I'll rack my brain later. In 1994, I was a kid and wanted a Ferrari Testarossa. I spent part of 1994 at Guantanamo Bay. Holy shit! Did you hold that line? Did you hold that line? Let's see. Oh shit, Jason, thank you for your service. My pleasure. It was before it became a prison. Lucky you then. Yeah, I think Nolte did go. Yeah, West Side and Benson. John dug that out. Oh, I'm friends with. Here we go. Emily Mayfield, Baker Mayfield's wife, graduated 2009 from West Side. I remember that. And Baker actually showed up for the volleyball team's match against Texas down in Tampa, I think, since the wife was from Nebraska. He came out and watched the Huskers. I'll throw one more thing on the money for anybody that says the players shouldn't get paid. I give you Baker Mayfield's time at A&M and what he meant financially to that place, because I think they said donations were like averaging about $200 million a year or something like that before he came along. And then averaged like $750 million a year while he was there, and people were mad because
was that Mayfield or Johnny?
No,
Manziel?
Damn it, that was Manziel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Wait. I remember another movie I've watched like I shit ton of times. My birthday is June 6th, so I've watched The Longest Day like 12 times.
Oh, hey, 10 days before me. I'm June 16th. How about
It's
that?
not a sports movie, but
Yeah.
it's on every June 6th somewhere.
Huh. Jason Reeves, I just pulled that up because I've always been a Mayfield fan too, even if I do cross him up with Johnny Manziel. Sorry about that, Baker Mayfield. I always enjoyed watching him play. He almost beat Georgia the one time. That might have been the wildest college football playoff semifinal ever. I think that went overtime. It was like 50-something to 40-something. Let's see. The Animals is the classic version everyone remembers. There, you've got your answer. Is John playing NCAA football? I haven't started yet. It's been sitting here, and I just haven't. I want like several hours blocked off when I finally grab it. You pass the Superdome as you cross the bridge to Algiers. So yes, pretty sure there's a bridge. Oh, come on, John. Everyone watched the same crap over and over in the VHS. So you're being called a liar. And then again in the DVD here. Let's see. But you didn't remember it. But John
No, I don't remember a lot of that. It's just gone. Like I said, a lot of my movie remembrance of movies is just really fuzzy.
Well, stop for a minute. We're going to talk about me now.
Okay.
Tiger Shark Diver says your Waterboy movie night, Andy, was one of the best breakdowns I've ever seen. I got to admit, I had a lot of fun doing the Waterboy. Tonight's a little more serious than the Waterboy, but we'll get stupid again. All right, let me rip through the trivia, and we're going to get you guys home in well under 2 hours tonight.
That's good because I'm starting to fade.
Yeah, no, I'll roll through these. Let's see. Friedkin, I said it had like a bad box office. Friedkin said, the bad box office is tough to really capture basketball right on film. Friedkin, I'm going to disagree with you. You got bad box office because you gave people a sports movie that turned into a sell your soul for money movie, not a hey somebody's going to dunk one at the buzzer movie. It's that simple on the box office. But it aged well. I think people it's become a movie people watch and talk about. Let's see. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
I watched this on Amazon. And one of the things that I've done with, if I get like tired, I go play a stupid video game that doesn't require any mental capacity. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. And I play it for 10 minutes and then I go back to work. But 30 minutes. But one of the things I've thought about is I should go back and rewatch some of the movies I enjoyed before because I don't remember them that well. So what service actually has older movies the most? I mean, on Netflix, here's the thing. I have a daughter who got me started watching anime, and I will watch anime because it's just freaky, weird shit, and I like freaky, weird shit. I watched Scavenger's Reign on Netflix, and it has to be one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life. So which streaming service has the best selection of older movies?
There's not really one, but here's the easy way to go now.
Okay.
You have the IMDb app.
Okay.
Get the IMDb app. That's just the greatest app to answer all your movie questions. But if you just pick a movie, figure out what movie you want to watch. Otherwise, older movies, nobody's going to be putting their older movies on the front screen for you to choose
right.
from. You have to hit the search. So to beat the search, go to IMDb, you bring up the movie, and then right there at the top, it's going to tell you who's streaming.
Really?
Yeah. Like
I did not know this.
Literally on my phone at the bottom of the screen at the top of the thing before you start scrolling down, it's going to be right there underneath that yellow band that says add to watch list.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The disappointment.
Well, I'm doing that right now.
Well, the disappointment's going to be how many just nobody is streaming. So all you're going to get is $3.99 on Amazon. But I got to be honest. I used to think that was the worst, but I'm like, really? Well, is $3.99 that bad if I just really want to watch it? And so, anyway, moving on here. Shaq, I talked about Shaq and the kids. Well, one thing about Shaquille that I read, this is a few years back while he was still playing, was that he just absolutely loves kids and would go to like boys clubs, boys, children, youth groups, whatever, and just hang out with them all the time. And then, give them some stuff, build this thing up. And he would make sure that no one knows about it. No press. I'm not doing this for the press. I don't want cameras around. because he didn't want people to think he was going, hey, look at Shaq, he likes kids. And it reminded me of Bobby Orr for the Bruins, who loved to do all sorts of hospital visits and stuff. But it was, don't tell anyone, this is just for your son. I'm not doing it for the, for the publicity. Let's see, what did they say here? It's like they got right that, let's see. They got it right that we talked about that coaches really don't know and don't want to know about the money. The final game, they played two. All they did was choreograph like the winning alley-oop or whatever, but they played two games. Knights teams won them both, and he wore no makeup for that. He thought he'd look weird in makeup and it would look unrealistic. Because he's like,
Shaq?
No, Bobby Knight.
Oh,
Bobby Knight for that. Nick Nolte, you want to talk about getting into your role? He wrote a 200-page novel about Pete Bell, so he could be into the character.
Oh my God!
Isn't that insane? That Nolte getting into the role, man. Already said that one, and then I talked about the draft. Hey, so I'm skipping quick here. So they said Nolte, beyond what they had him do for a few weeks, like shadowed him, I guess, for most of the 91-92 season. Shadowed Bobby Knight. They filmed that. They filmed that scene at Bird's home where he goes to have Larry introduce him to Ricky Rowe. That was also, same home where they filmed the Converse commercial with him and Magic Johnson. And I was thinking, well, it's still got to be Larry's home. That's awesome. I guess he sold it back in 2007, and now it's kind of a resort where they rent out a convention hall, that sort of thing. So, God, Larry Bird's house isn't his house anymore. The gym. So, where did you think this fictional university, Western University, was? The Dolphins.
Well, it had to be close to Indiana, right?
Well, I was thinking it was L.A. because they're wearing UCLA colors, and it turned out that they were supposed to be in L.A. in the movie.
Okay.
But funny you said Indiana, because not necessarily the outside of the arena, but the gym inside is the Frankfurt High School gym in Indiana, and it's like 47 miles north of Indianapolis. And so that's where they film like their home basketball scenes. Now, that is the second Western University for a basketball movie in Los Angeles for a basketball movie. One-on-One with Robbie Benson back in like 1977 or 8.
God.
With also Western University in LA. So that's kind of wild. Things like that where I wonder if like the research or whatever just does that stuff on purpose. Because I found out the reason that Kevin Costner wore number 8 in Bull Durham was Ron Shelton played minor league ball, and the costume designer found out that his uniform number most of his years in the minors was number 8, and so she had that put on Costner's jersey, which I thought was pretty cool. Oh, one other thing, when you Bull Durham night, Kurt Russell, who also played minor league ball, I guess helped not write the script but develop the story with Shelton, and was supposed to originally be Crash Davis, but then he had conflicts, couldn't do it. Costner got it. Kurt Russell wrote them both a letter telling him how much he loved the movie and thought Costner was awesome and glad he got the role. Nice guy, Kurt Russell.
My God, you do a lot of preparation for this.
Now, here you go. What you talked about earlier, you said you saw Shaq's last game. Okay, in real life and in the movie, Shaq played against Indiana. In his last game in college in the movie, Shaq played against Indiana. It was that game where everybody started talking about, hey, they do this shit on purpose. It was the second round of the NCAA tournament, and they had like LSU on one side and Indiana on the other. And famously that year, Dale Brown and Bobby Knight had been feuding like bastards, and so they totally set it up to play. And they lost. LSU lost 89-79 in the 92 NCAA tournament, but came back and won in blue chips 2 years later, took Indiana down. And let's see, that was it. So the only thing left for me to do is to put a rating on the movie before we take one last look at comments. John, if you had to, on a 1 to 5, and just you probably picked it up, our 1 to 5 goes from Riley, Solich, Pelini at 3, Devaney's a 4, and Osborne's a 5-star.
I'd probably do Pelini.
You know what? We are 100% on the same page. It was
a good movie. It obviously dated. but
Yeah.
it's still, it still does that. I think it does very well. The innocent Boy Scout guy, having his soul ripped away from him and he can't do it. I think they do that really well.
Right. And found a great, great actor to pull it
Happy,
off.
yeah, and Happy is a complete prick. And and you mentioned the sports playing. You remember years ago? I keep trying to think of this movie. I want to say George Plimpton, if you remember who that was.
Absolutely.
Was that
Paper Lion.
was he Paper Lion? Okay, and
Yeah.
he dribbles with both hands in the movie.
Well, I hope not.
I think at some point
that's a football movie. So.
okay. Well, I want to say that one of those movies, the older movies where they'd show him, it'd be some actor who couldn't do shit.
Yeah.
The sports were shit. And then in this movie, they're actually, it's Shaquille O'Neal playing basketball, for God's sake.
No,
when he's like 12 years old or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Plimpton did that too with hockey, played goalie for the Bruins in the early 70s in one of the exhibition games against the Flyers. And then I think he boxed Archie Moore for a couple of rounds. Too. I'll tell you what, Plimpton had guts.
Yeah.
The Archie Moore, I think the Archie Moore thing's right. Even though not that I ever went and fought at fairgrounds fights or shit like that. I just kind of like boxing training a little and did it a little like for like part of a year or so. And it was fun. Then my mom found out about it and it was scarier than getting punched because she got so freaked out that I was doing that. But yeah, that's just not something I'd really go, I want to trade hands with Archie Moore. Screw that. I absolutely Bo Pelini for that one. And what I tell people, and I had some backlash because I also do the top 50 sports movies of all time that might be finished by the time I hit 70 because I've got the pod going so much I haven't written one of those yet this summer. But I had Sandlot at like 38 or 9 and got some backlash in the comments. Some people were pissed. Like they were like, this is the greatest sports movie ever. And I was like, look, it's an enjoyable movie about kids playing around in a sandlot. But if you want to be in the top 10, I really need some big finish. They don't have to win, but it has to be something that both I get really emotionally invested in, but there's a big game at the end of some sort, or and you're going with them through their season or whatever.
Right.
Like, you're not
like the Little Giants.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Little Giants, I guess. Whatever. I guess there's a big game there. I watched that once. But I did Bad News Bears. Bad News Bears will be in the top 10. And brother, there's a big game at the end. When we went back and broke that down, that was just freaking insane. That last game they played. That game should have been called off. It should have never been allowed to finish. I mean, you had a batter, you had the pitcher throw at the batter, you had the coach smack his son down knock his son down on the mound. You had Buttermaker just uncontrollably screaming and cursing at the kids. I mean, that ump had to have been bought off by Roy Turner because there's just, I mean, I would call that forfeit, no winner, 1970.
Wait a minute. This was the Bad News Bears?
Yeah, that last game is nuts.
That was it's in the 70s.
Yeah, but I played Little League in the 70s. It wasn't out of control like that.
Well, yeah, but God knows they let everything slide a lot then.
But anyway,
okay.
Let's wrap it up. Let's see if anybody had any more going on here. Let's see. Yep. Oh, we stopped at Waterboy. Let's see. Friday night, I think Hoosiers, Friday Night Lights. It's a good show. Andy looks like he's recovered. I was media days was rough, man. I warned him before I started. I just wasn't sleep. I didn't sleep well the night before I left. I didn't sleep well the first night, and I was just running on fumes until Thursday. So yeah, thanks. I'm back to full strength now. James Boardman says that Dick Vitale was reading from a cue card. He was looking at the camera and would glance up every once in a while. You do what you got to do to have. Yeah, Reeves said he spotted that too. You look at what you had to look at if you have Dick Vitale along. I love Dick Vitale, and one of the reasons is there's not really any act to Dick Vitale. I read one of John Feinstein's books about the 87-88 season. He had a whole chapter on Vitale, and he says with Vitale, he goes, that's not some camera act he's putting on. He goes, that's Dick Vitale just walking down the street in real life. They said he'd show up. He shows up at like those college coaching conventions, and he's just spreading the rumors. It's a done deal, baby, and talking shit. And it's like there's one time I think he was going, and Valvano's going to UCLA, mark it down. I got it inside stuff. Said hours go by, they're finishing off some drinks at 1 a.m, and Vitale leans over to him. So you think Jimmy V's going to UCLA? just said that's who you got. Yep. Western University. We need to bring back high school gyms with the balconies all around. Like, yeah, that Butch High School, everybody's just watching perched over the court. We needed that. When I was at Brownell, our shitty little gym, we needed that. Savant, make me Rain Man. Yeah, I eat some burgers. Battered Bastards of Baseball, fellas. Kurt Russell's dad's minor league team, totally entertaining. I've not seen that, but somebody else has told me.
That's a movie?
It's a movie or documentary. Reeves, if you're still there, type that in. Little Giants moves up 20 spots for Ed O'Neill and Rick Moranis.
Come on, you got it. Yeah, it's cute and fuzzy. You know what I mean?
I would say they were my two favorite coaches going against each other, but totally up there with them for me is Robert Duvall and Will Ferrell in the soccer movie. My daughter Miley, we'll get her on here about something. We'll talk about it, but they just loved that movie because that's where Mike Ditka is like assistant coaching for Will Ferrell, and God, what the hell was that called? Anyway, and Will Ferrell just doesn't realize who he's dealing with, and he goes over to his house. Like he lives next door to him. He goes over, hey, would you be my assistant coach? And Ditka just plays Ditka great. He goes, would I be your? You don't have any idea who I am, do you? And then you had the two lesbian moms who had adopted a little I think Taiwanese kid, and he had a normal name or something, but then they asked Mike Ditka to write an autograph something for the kid, and of course Ditka, which I think he 100% would go there you go, congrats, hands it over to him, and the one looks at it and goes, good luck, bing bong, or something. And it's just, oh yeah, Netflix documentary, says Jason Reeves on Battered Bastards of Baseball. I like the Netflix sports documentaries. Holy shit, they have one crimes and penalties, and it's about this. It's based on the real life Tony Soprano, the guy they based Soprano on, who bought his 17-year-old son a hockey team to be a minor league hockey team to be the GM of when he blew his knee out in high school hockey, and he was devastated. And there's the guy literally had a picture, like a framed photo, big framed photo of the cast of Sopranos signed by them all. And James Gandolfini had signed it, James Gandolfini, to the real Tony Soprano. And this guy ended up getting busted by the FBI for racketeering and everything. He owned one of the biggest dumping businesses in
right.
Connecticut, but served the region, and it just had hundreds of trucks, and they just put together this team of goons that was playing for the kid actually was searching the internet for all these guys and getting these brawlers. First guy he goes, we got Gretzky, baby. He signed Brent Gretzky, Wayne's brother. and they were interviewing these guys, and they put them all up in lakefront houses, and then paid him another $7,500 under the table, which was more than double the league's maximum. Yeah, crimes and penalties. If you just want to laugh and be freaked out the whole time. Well, let's see. Kurt Russell sitting in a chair and chatting about his old man and playing ball for a couple seasons. Yes, Jason Reeves, the Trashers. That was the name of the team because they were owned by the trash company. All right, 149. I'm going to get you guys out of here in under 151. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was something I just wanted to talk about with all the NIL and the payments and everything coming to a head and sneak it in there. John, thank you so much for doing it.
Sure.
I begged him once before and he couldn't, so I wasn't going to give this one up. Oh, and if you've got just a second, I've actually promised to start telling him what we're going to be doing the next week. So, John, talk about how much you enjoyed about this tonight while I pull that spreadsheet.
Well, the thing is like I've said repeatedly, a lot of my movie knowledge just is gone, and I keep movie references are, things that people make all the time, because there's so many of them that affect our culture. And I, the thing is I miss out on a lot of that stuff. So I've been thinking lately, I need to go back and start watching some of the movies that I enjoyed previously. So I appreciate the IMDb reference. I see on here where I can actually find Shaolin Soccer, which I'm sure is used in
Wow.
tons of cultural references. I like weird movies. I do. I've always liked weird movies, and it's probably why in my real life I'm kind of a nerdy, geeky kind of guy.
I mean, IMDb, like the internet, IMDb, cell phones, and all that is a reason that I don't get woke up in the middle of the night a lot anymore. I had a circle of friends, and it's not the reason I got divorced, but I'm sure it didn't help keep the marriage together, who thought nothing of calling me up at like drunk at 1:30 in the morning to ask me, hey man, who was in this? Who was that guy that played the dude who was friends with Paulie in Rocky V? I mean, it
Really?
happen nightly, but I would say it definitely happened more than once a month. And I'm like, you can't do this. Oh, you're cool, man. Later. So anyway, that's it. What do we? Oh, Fred made it at the very end. Sorry, work sucks and life follows. Have a great show, everyone. Shit ass had to say it. Shit ass. Thank you, Fred. Glad you could stop in. Till he went to prison. Dance, John, dance. All right, we're done here. Next week, I figured the first go around of this, I've got to get a Rocky movie in there. So next week's going to be Rocky 3. That's the one that just fires right out of the gate with Eye of the Tiger. You've got Rocky trying to retire and then training in a casino. You got Clubber Lang offering to take his wife back to his room with him. Of all the Rockies, nothing played on white people's fears more than Rocky 3. So some of the racist lines running through it, you go back and look at it today, and I'm like, I guess that wasn't that funny, but Mr. T was Mr. T, but then that's when Rocky and Apollo became best friends, even if we didn't need them hugging so much on the beach, all sweaty and with shorts that were barely below their nuts because it was 1983. But that's it. Rocky 3 next week. We'll see y'all. Thank you very much. John, thank you very much.
Sure.
And we've got goodbye music now. So see y'all next Tuesday.